You made a great point on like the bad things end up being good things. So in reality transurfing, there's a saying where imagine your life. Your life is a closet, and the closet is full. Nothing can fit into the closet anymore. You can't put anything new in, and all the universe wants to do is help you and improve you and better your life. As long as you believe that the world, I think there was a saying. I think Nikola Tesla. I don't remember the exact quote it was, but it was something along the lines of, "The most important decision you will ever make in your life is deciding whether the world is good for you or evil for you." And in reality transurfing, they talk about the closet. And the universe always wants to improve your life and put better things into your life. But to put something new into a full closet, something has to leave the closet. You can't shove more in. So I've had this realization back when I had a heavy breakup and extreme heartbreak. And then ever since I read Reality Transurfing and I kind of just let it go and be like, the universe is helping me. This is happening for a reason. And then after that point, my life went exponential. Like it was wild. But the issue was the heartbreak. I knew it was coming. I knew it for 4 months. And during that 4 months, I held on. No matter all the signs, I just held on. And my life was ruined. And then I was like, okay, the universe wants this out of my life. I let it out of my life. And all of a sudden, better things came in. And then it's this whole analogy of to put something new into the closet, something has to leave the closet. So you cannot feel bad about it leaving. It's the natural law of the universe. Something has to go for something new to step in. And that's a beautiful perspective to look at things you lose. You're not losing, you're just making space for something better to come in.
Absolutely. Wow. That is a fantastic perspective. I got to read Reality Transurfing. The pendulum. Let's see, CryptoKindness, who's in the chat, was talking about the pendulum. Something happened to him. He's like, "Oh, pendulum is swinging," and can you explain that real quick? The pendulum, for people who don't know.
So pendulum is a big chapter in reality transurfing. Essentially, what pendulums are is, so if you're a perfectly balanced spiritual being and you're always on a mental, like just emotional baseline where nothing really excites you too much or like puts you down too much, a pendulum is something that comes into your life. And if it gets you off of balance, so let's say that could be like falling on your bike. If you fall on your bike, as an example, and all of a sudden you go from a balanced state to a very angry state, and then the pendulum hooks into you. And the only goal that a pendulum has, so political parties can be a pendulum, crypto projects can be a pendulum, negative situations, positive situations, and it can all be a pendulum, good or bad. And the only goal of a pendulum is to get complete control over the participant. So it needs to get you off balance, then hook into you. So you can see it like hooks in your body. And then once it hooks into you, it completely consumes your soul. And the only goal that a pendulum has is to drain you of all of your energy. So you have these people that have a negative event happen to them, and then the only thing they can focus on is a negative event, and the pendulum drains their energy. And then all of a sudden, they become a shell of the human they used to be because they no longer have free energy. And in the book, they talk about free energy. And free energy is when you completely free yourself of all pendulums. And then the kind of mantra is, nothing is important. I desire nothing. I am attached to nothing. Because then if you are attached to nothing and nothing is important and you desire nothing, you're always in a purely balanced state. And if you're in a balanced state, everything flows. But when you're out of balance, you create this excess potential, and the universe always reverts back to balance. And it does that through the path of least resistance. And usually that is completely like removing something out of your life. And this idea of pendulum is just things that hook into you and drain your energy. Like political parties are massive things on this. But people commit their entire lives to political parties, even though it has no benefit to them whatsoever. It's because the pendulum hooked into them. And it started with like a piece of news or whatever. And then they started reading the news. And then the energetic state was now linked to the pendulum. And then the pendulum swings. And now the energy is used to feed the pendulum. And the only way to get rid of a pendulum is by getting rid of it. It's not important. I am not attached by it. I don't desire it. And when it's something is not important, and you'll notice this in relationships, when your partner is not like important to the point where like I cannot live without her, and I desire her, and I'm attached to her. The moment you create that kind of energy, you lose her because it's excess potential, and the universe removes things that are not in balance. And it's such an important damn concept.
I think there's lots of truth there, Jake. Yeah, it makes me think of money too. Like you were saying, I think
yes,
you're a millionaire first. One of the signs of a millionaire, I think, is someone that isn't emotionally controlled by $1 million. One of the signs I think that someone could be a millionaire is if $1 million doesn't, just make them so completely exuberantly happy. That's a sign that they may not actually be in the place. When you're a real millionaire, you understand I got to use this money very responsibly because $1 million, is a step on the way to something potentially more meaningful. And as soon as you're controlled by the $1 million rather than you controlling the $1 million, you have a very unlikely chance of actually using that well and getting the good result from it. And it also makes me think of meditation, where for me, like, that is trying to focus on one thing, and then all of my short-term problems, my environmental problems pop into my mind, and I'm basically doing what I think you're saying. That's okay. Yes, that's a problem, but it's okay. I am not my circumstances. I am something else. And I think there's truth in that. And I've had so much good come from practicing that, which I think is, in a sense, potentially unhooking the pendulum, pulling me down. It's like, I am not these things. Yes, they are happening and they're there, but it is okay anyway. And then all of a sudden, like, it's so linked to that, you know, creative mind that we were talking about. All of a sudden, these epiphanies, and oh wait, I've been going down this wrong track, trying to maximize this one pathway, and getting pulled down by these problems within this direction. But I'm not even going the right direction. and then, but if I'm consumed by that environment, my focus is there, and I can't get outside of it. And meditation, which used to be a really weird word to me that sounded like this hocus pocus thing, but putting myself in a position to kind of accept the environment that I'm in and say it's okay, letting everything go, has been really productive. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I want to add one more thing to that. What you're saying is so damn true, because when you kind of visualize a pendulum as something hooking into your body, it can only hook into you if it has something to hook into. So in spirituality and meditation, if you're not attached to anything, there is nothing to hook into. You only get hooked if you're attached. But if there is nothing to hook into, because nothing is important, you cannot be part of the pendulum because it has nothing to grasp onto. And then there's this saying, like, and I think Osho or whatever teaches it, is that letting go does not exist. And I like that you use the word accept. Like, the biggest thing that you'll learn in spirituality is that there's no letting go. There's no letting go of everything. There's just accepting as is. Something is not good or bad. It just is. And then the way you kind of let go of things is you accept them. Like, I accept that this is here. I don't try to fight it. I don't try to push it away.
It's very unhealthy, I think, to not accept, to ignore, to not recognize problems. You will not learn from your mistakes. You will not learn from the things around you if you're ignoring them. Accepting them, realizing, like, yes, my parents weren't perfect, and that is a reality, is much different than pushing stuff out of your mind and not dealing with it. That is, in my opinion, extremely unhealthy. I do have a question. I kind of interrupted you, Jake, though, if you wanted to finish.
No, it's good. I said everything.
So I do think that there might be, like, coming back to the hierarchy of values, I do feel that, for example, there are things that are worth letting them hook into you. That I think there's good out there, and there's a foundation. The question is, what things are you letting hook to you, and are they actually good? Like, truth itself may be something that I want to be hooked to. Like, I want to know what is true. And it doesn't mean that any particular imperfect truth that I believe is what I let hook into me, but this idea of pursuing what actually is something that I want to allow myself to always be pulled to. I'm curious if there's nuance in some of that, and what your thoughts are. You kind of made me think about that.
There are good pendulums, but the pendulums always take your energy. So if your energy is taken for a good cause, well, then it's decent. But I think the way they kind of put it in a book is you really want to approach it from a way where nothing is important. And then also, when they talk about your goals, the biggest thing I kind of took away from, like, the whole, like, visualization, because they have a very specific way, they call it transfer chain visualization, is you have to look at your goals as a foregone conclusion. Like, if you want to be a millionaire, you have to look at, like, your millionaire is not a goal. You're like, of course I'm going to be a millionaire. That's like done. Like, this is my goal. So when your goals become a foregone conclusion, you adopt the energy and the identity and the energetic state of somebody who already has that goal. And if you come into the world with that kind of frame, the world gives you what you think you deserve. Because if you have a goal, I need to make $1 million, well, then on some level, you don't think that you deserve it because you have to work for it. If something becomes a foregone conclusion, then you've already assumed, I am this type of person, and the world gives you what you think you deserve. And then, yeah, I think the more I've kind of, like, nothing is important, I am attached to nothing, and I desire nothing, the more I've kind of just did stuff for the purpose of doing stuff, I think it's just zero obstacles. Like I used to have a hell of a lot of obstacles. I used to be the underdog and everything that I did because I was constantly fighting the world. And then in the book, they say that there is no such thing as a fight. The only fight that exists is a fight that is self-imposed. So it's only a fight that we create in our mind. There is no fight in the outside world. Nobody actually cares. You're creating a fight in here. The fight is in here. And when you stop fighting, the world stops fighting with you. And the obstacles disappear because nothing is important. And obstacles appear when things become important. It's interesting. I know.
Yeah, I could keep talking. I just don't want to distract us. My first thought would be is the idea of a pendulum a value in itself that is a hook?
Yes, they say that in the book 100%.
Okay.
Because then you start worrying about everything, and then you're creating excess potential again because you're out of balance. So that's when you come back to the idea of accepting. Like, it just is.
Yeah, it does sound very Eastern, I think, Buddhist. It is.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got the audio book on YouTube I've been going through, and I need to get more into it. I need a few hours just to dedicate because so much good stuff from it, and just hearing from you all talk about it. Oh, you've got it in print. Okay. Nice.
Well,
I can't.
I don't even have the print version.
It's not cheap, man. That's one of the more expensive books I've ever bought.
I was like, yeah, maybe I'll. So what I do sometimes, out of respect for the content, if I'll listen to the audiobook or get halfway through and be like, okay, I really like this book, and then I'll buy the book just to support the cause. I'll do that sometimes. So I'm not saying I'll never own the book, but I probably will actually. But I need to get through a little bit of further. But just hearing people talk about it, you all, and then Crypto Kindness as well, and then tons of people. Crypto Coffee mentioned the other day. I think I need to dedicate some time to it. I need to take some more road trips, especially I can get into the zone and just kind of consume it. But there was a question about 45 minutes ago from Red Bull Green Bear when Maxi was talking about the truth and lies and or love and truth. Lies, not by lies, by Solzhenitsyn, which famous philosopher. He's asking, have you heard of it? Is that something that you use to reference?
No, I haven't.
Okay, yeah, that's a lot of good ones out there. Nietzsche, Solzhenitsyn, apparently a lot of great Russian philosophers back in the day.
One of the things I want to say is one of the kind of signs of somebody that is very far ahead of like spiritual journey and stuff like that is their childlike curiosity. And I notice in Maxim, like when you talk about like new things to learn, you see like the inner child and then waking up. I mean, look at the smile, like, and that's like what they say in like spirituality is like the highest level of spirituality is becoming a child again, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think I have a unnatural drive that way. Like I'm not afraid to question assumptions that I am holding tightly to right now. I've just been benefited so much from doing that. A lot of people have fear, and I don't. Maybe I'm broken, but I love the process and. Yeah.
Red pill.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun to find other people that are authentically pursuing truth and are open about their experiences too. It's some of my best friends, like we'll sit around once a month or something to smoke cigars and just talk about what's on our mind. And it's some of my best times in my life.
Yeah, having a childlike curiosity. I think even Naval talks about that. It's like, kids, they don't have any worries. They don't have any anxiety. Of course, there's certain exceptions, but generally they're not worried about all these things. They haven't been conformed to the world to do these things, to say and have all this responsibility. And becoming, I think, a worthy goal as an adult is to, of course, take care of yourself and family and life, but also bigger picture. Just maybe as you're describing Maxim, come down to that childlike curiosity and just grow from within. I think that's a very healthy way to do it.
Dude, okay, wait, well, one more thing.
Go for it.
One more thing, because I love this conversation, man. Me too. There's also like in spiritual teachings, and this applies to business and stuff like that, is when you want to improve in life, the goal is not to add new things, it's to remove things that you believe. And then Alex Hormozi has this saying where we question things we believe, but the things we truly believe, we don't dare to question. And as you kind of progress in spirituality, the only thing that you start realizing is everything that you kind of adopted from like child to growing up into an adult, all of the belief systems that you used to believe, spirituality is just removing those things. Like, why do I believe this? And then Tony Robbins talks about the 3 whys. Like, okay, if somebody is like, okay, I want to make $1 million. Why do you want to make $1 million? Oh, because of this reason. What makes you say that? If you ask somebody what makes you say that, they start exposing their belief system. And then you ask them, why do you believe that? And then you kind of go back into a childhood story of when that belief system was kind of kicked in. And that's why a lot of people have money problems, because they have money beliefs that came from their family, but they don't realize it until they ask the questions. And then once they kind of figure out, wait, this belief is not serving, then you let it go. And that's when you kind of get into this idea of like, if you want to get better, it comes through subtraction, not addition. It's by removing things you used to believe that no longer serve you.